History largely remembers the Medici family through a very specific lens: wealthy financiers, pious Catholics, and the deep-pocketed patrons who bankrolled the artistic explosion of the Renaissance. But incredible wealth and diplomatic smiles were often insufficient shields. Survival in an era of brutal assassinations and uprisings demanded a tangible, asymmetric advantage that could neutralize physical and political threats before they reached the palace gates. Looking at this photograph of the Palazzo Vecchio, you are seeing the fortress that served as the seat of their absolute power. Hidden deep within the walls of this administrative headquarters was their actual survival mechanism, a highly classified, heavily guarded laboratory. Inside the studiolo of Francesco I, the air was thick with the choking smell of vitriol and the intense heat of experimental furnaces. This was an industrial environment, completely insulated from the courtly intrigue happening in the halls above. Here, the Medici executed a radical strategic pivot. They redirected mystical alchemy toward practical statecraft, building a state-funded proto-industrial chemical engine designed for material output. These rulers were true alchemist princes. They understood a very practical truth: if you can master the volatility of dangerous chemicals in the laboratory, you possess the blueprint for controlling the volatility of the populace in the real world. The first pillar of their research engine was pharmacological sovereignty. In a world where poison was a daily political threat, controlling the internal biology of both your allies and your enemies was a critical security protocol. To achieve this, the family utilized the Boboli Gardens as a living laboratory. Within these grounds, they cultivated rare flora specifically for its chemical properties, blending the science of botanical life with the study of lethal toxins. This diagram maps the supply chain for the Medici powder. Refining toxic antimony and crushed pearls formulated a universal cure, diplomatically binding foreign monarchs. Yet, this exact distillation method was applied to death. The laboratory refined botanicals into untraceable poisons, covertly eliminating political rivals. This dual mastery over life and death allowed the Medici to project an aura of divine biological superiority. They were the ultimate arbiters of health, maintaining complete plausible deniability while operating effectively within the cutthroat world of Italian espionage. Moving from the human body to the geopolitical economy, the Medici applied their chemical expertise to material engineering. They established the Opificio delle Pietre Dure, a prestigious mosaic workshop that actually operated as a classified front for advanced mineralogy and acid testing. The Grand Duchy faced a massive economic threat: the crushing monopoly held by Eastern Silk Road trade routes over global luxury goods. Relying on foreign powers for high-value imports was an economic vulnerability the Medici could not accept. This photograph of a Medici porcelain flask represents a direct attack on that monopoly. Cracking Eastern chemical formulas, they produced the first European soft-paste porcelain. Their labs then manipulated extreme heat and pressure to synthesize artificial gemstones. By creating synthetic jewels with remarkable clarity, they engineered the illusion of infinite wealth right inside the palace walls. By manufacturing these high-value goods from base elements, the Medici gained the ability to undercut the market price of their rivals' physical assets. This chemical mastery allowed Florence to dictate the value of luxury trades, turning proprietary knowledge into a weapon of economic warfare. This image of an ornamented Catholic altar illustrates their public facade. Social stability required strict religious orthodoxy, even as they privately explored Neoplatonic magic. They embedded this occult philosophy in plain sight. Medici-commissioned art functioned as a visual argument, presenting the ruler as a divine architect with the inherent authority to tame nature's volatile elements. Renaissance paintings were laced with specific alchemical stages. Scenes of dark, chaotic destruction represented Negredo, or the breakdown of the old Republican order. Luminous, ethereal figures signaled albedo, the purification of the state. And the vibrant use of Medici red stood in for rubedo, the achievement of absolute perfection. This occult imagery served a highly practical function. It was a calculated ideological weapon designed to ensure their chemically engineered dominance appeared to the public as an unassailable mandate from heaven. For centuries, the question remained: were the Medici simply wealthy patrons paying scholars to do this dangerous work? Or were they hands-on operators breathing in the fumes of their own experiments? In 2004, the Medici project set out to find the answer. This anatomical diagram visualizes the results of recent exhumations. The skeletons of the Grand Dukes and their families were found to be saturated with extreme concentrations of mercury and arsenic, toxic elements absorbed directly into their bone structure over years of exposure. They were active practitioners, and their dangerous physical labor left an institutional legacy. The highly classified toxic secrets forged in the studiolo were eventually pulled from the shadows and formalized into the Accademia del Cimento, one of the world's very first modern scientific societies. The Academy adopted a very specific motto: testing and retesting. At that exact moment, the secretive, shadowy magic of the alchemist was cleaned up and structured into the transparent, empirical observation of the scientist. The scientific revolution did not begin with a sudden rejection of magical thinking. It was the final, successful product of the Medici's political alchemy. They took a classified weapon designed for absolute governance and transformed it into the enduring architecture of modern empirical knowledge.